Ken Barnes and Jamal Pittman and all of them. I think that's probably how we.
It's true, and Campus Walk. Yeah.
Yes.
Those were the days.
We already know.
We're talking about motherhood now. Don't reminisce. That's funny. We are live, ladies. Hello. I was a little scared for a minute though, because it was like, I don't have permission to share. Like, what is going on? But let me check.
Technology is what's going on.
Oh my word. It was like,
what a day.
Okie dokie. I got it. Okie dokie. So yes, we are live. Yay! Welcome, welcome. So I was gonna play a little music in the background. Like I could. Have y'all heard this song before? Erica Campbell, Positive.
I know who I am, and I know who I'm not. I know that
No.
Love it. I'm saying I heard it from sharing a story. And there's one of the choices. Oop, I can't do it.
When he tells me he loves me, I feel it. Ain't nobody on the earth.
And while we have people coming on, I'm asking that you all share, tag some great mothers, share, tell your sisters, your cousins, your aunts, everyone, your network, your sorority sisters, your church sisters, your peers, all of that. Tell them to hop on. Okay, I can't play this at the same time with my
So yes, we are.
Okay, with my thing.
I'm trying to share it.
Same.
Okay, is it allowing you to share?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Because it's a little different on my end. I don't know what I do. But I am so excited. And as you're coming in, if you were catching the replay or will be seeing this on YouTube, as we await for people, I will first like to thank God for grace. And so with Courageous Conversations for Action, God allowed me and literally unctioned me to start doing these Facebook Live conversations, discussing subjects that were like we talked about privately on the phone, but did not want to have an open. And one of the first conversations was about COVID and just our kids going back to school and what was on our mind as parents. Like, should we do that? And I end up personally making the choice to have my kids home for 2 years. And but there was so much animosity for people criticizing people's choice. And all of this everyone was scared, let's just face it. And so but that's how it started. Well, one of the great things about obedience is consistency. And I really just dropped the ball on that. And so when God really when I was chastised, let's just put it out there, and to say that this is needed again for these spaces. We are living in a time to where culture is on a slippery slope of just more morality is just fainting. And so I think it's time for us who still believe in community, in family, and just not in perfection, but just wanting to treat people right. And, it's just time for our voices to stand tall over the animosity that's going on in the political space, the wars that's going on, in communities and all of that. So Courageous Conversation for Action is back, and I am more than happy to jumpstart this in the month of May. We call this the Mommy Month. And before, usually I would have this conversation earlier and try to get it before Mother's Day. But if you follow me, my eldest daughter graduated high school. Let me just say, my eldest daughter, full ride to HBCU, $300,000 worth of scholarships. No, I'm talking about awarded her money, that baby. So we're in celebration mode, right? And even then, though, I was praying like how we should really dive into not just how the normal conversation of motherhood and try to act like it's just all the roses, and we're wearing the hats and we're at the beach and we have these perfect pictures, right? But that motherhood is a journey. Mm-hmm. And today we have the awesome opportunity to discuss a part of this journey, and with the segment of mothering special children with special needs. And I am so glad that when I say you all are going to be enlightened and impacted, because we have some warrior mommies on tonight. And I'm talking about that, when you talk about mama bears, that's what I'm trying to find another word. These are like warrior, just amazing women who are continuing to be leaders in the community, leaders in their profession. Happy APL Day, Natasha? Is it APL?
SLP.
SLP, speech pathologist, right? I think she's less than, I think it's like less than 10% of African Americans in this profession. You better trendsetters. Okay. We have amazing women to join this discussion tonight. And so before that, I would just like to share a little bit about each woman that we have here on tonight. I will let them, of course, take it away, but just to share more about, well, you know what? No, I won't do that. I know it's a journey, but so this is what I'll do. I will just say we have Miss Cherie Smith, Miss Erica Shoemate, Miss Natasha Davis on, and these are our excellent communicators, and they can speak for themselves. And so if you all would give us a brief intro of yourself and tell us about your amazing child. We will start.
Wait a minute. We just threw us a monkey wrench.
I know, right? I was supposed to, but I was like, you know what? Just go ahead. I told y'all that I'm just flow. And I know that it's a journey, but if you could at least tell us the diagnosis, if that would be okay, and then we can dive deeper. Miss Cherie, would you please start?
Sure. So like she said, I'm Cherie Smith. I am, I've been married to my husband for almost 17 years. We have 3 children, a 16-year-old, a 15-year-old, and a 13-year-old. Our 14-year-old son, his name is Jacob. He was diagnosed with autism at 3 years old. Jacob is a delight. He is such a joy, and he is such a happy kid. He continues to defy our expectations, and we know that that he is exactly who God has called him to be.
Thank you. I love it. Okay. Miss Natasha.
Hello, everyone. My name is Natasha Davis. I am the mother of Miss Phoenix Davis, better known as Fifi for most people. Phoenix, she, it wasn't confirmed during pregnancy, but at birth, her diagnosis of trisomy 21, better known as Down syndrome, was confirmed. But during pregnancy, we did find out that she had a complete AV canal defect, which was going to require open heart surgery to repair. She did have that repair completed at 3 months. And so she's rocking and rolling. She's defying odds, proving people wrong. And we're just excited here to tell her story.
Awesome. Y'all are, I'm already about to cry. I am, because I just love the excitement that you share. I'm trying to keep my G status throughout this whole thing. Okay, Miss Erica.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Erica Shoemate, and I am the mother of Ms. Nia Shoemate, which I know a lot of people know her through social media. Nia was diagnosed in utero, initially misdiagnosed with a rare and lethal form of dwarfism. And we were actually advised to terminate to 28 weeks. And along the journey, we'll probably talk about it more here, we actually got the correct diagnoses, which is still a super rare form of dwarfism, which has a high mortality rate. Nia has Ellis-Van-Creveld syndrome, less than 300 cases reported globally, and it's highly concentrated in the Amish Dutch community. And in case you were wondering, no, I'm not Amish, nor is my husband, and no, neither of us are Dutch. But as a result of her type of dwarfism, it also about 70% of babies also have a congenital heart defect. And she was one of those, and it varies what it can look like, from very mild or non-existent to very extreme. And Nia was in the middle. So Nia had kind of a medium hole in her heart. So exactly what Natasha mentioned earlier about an AV canal defect, and Nia had a small VSD as well. So it's the ventricle, so the lower part. And which that at first, I would say the miracle in that is initially in utero, going to the pediatric cardiologist, the VSD actually looked bigger. And then by our last appointment, she had more tissue to grow in that space. Because typically with VSD, the lungs can flood, which is what you don't want, and requires surgery a lot quicker than having just the ASD alone. And she also has a leaky mitral valve as well, but was repaired at 16 months. And she's not only surviving, but thriving, and she was not expected to survive birth. And yeah, so she spent 118 days in 2 different years.
Yes, I love it. I love it. Thank you all so much. I really just got teary-eyed because I enjoyed it, just how you all introduced your children with a smile, right? Just bursting with joy. And motherhood, we get the news that we're pregnant, and we're just so excited, right? It's you know, especially in the South, where motherhood is kind of like this pathway to femininity, and that's a whole nother discussion. But with that, you get the news, you're pregnant, you're excited, and then in your journeys, you hear of the diagnosis with your child. What, if you could be very honest, and however you want to share that, what was your initial reaction? How did that how did you wrestle with that news?
I know for myself, I was completely devastated, broken, any word that you can throw out there, like to the point like I didn't even want to eat. So I was like literally undiagnosed depression as a result. I mean, it was just, I can't even describe it. It was just that visceral. And being so close to like a month out from having our baby shower, we were gonna, and so for the audience, I am actually originally from the South, but we live in the Washington, D.C. metro area too. So I was actually a woman very early on in life that I decided I did not want children. God had another plan, and like, even, you know, my husband and I, we talk about it. I was like, no, I really didn't. Like, I didn't want to have that responsibility, knowing that I grew up and, you know, very much so living paycheck to paycheck, and that the fear of being broke was definitely something that I didn't want to have the weight of like caring for myself and then for a child. Um, I will say, with, you know, saying all of that, I can't imagine my life without my daughter, and motherhood is truly a joy, even in the midst of like the rain, like being able to dance in the rain. And so finding out that news, and literally spending the last 17 weeks of my pregnancy waiting for my daughter to be born and die in the same day, was heart-wrenching. And by the end, when we got the right diagnoses, they were like, well, still, like, you know, expect the worst, hope for the best. And we made sure, like, you know, we had the right team in place. But we even, you know, once I kind of got myself together, we decided that, you know, we would do a baby moon, do all the things to, like, you know, Nia wasn't going to survive outside of my womb. We were going to celebrate in it. We were going to travel. I remember traveling for work at 35 weeks. Pregnant to New York from DC, and took like a 30-minute flight, and people thought I was nuts. So I was like, my doctor cleared me and I should be fine. So it was kind of like, you know, taking that horrible thing that was happening and grabbing it by the horn, and just, I won't say I was thriving, but just kind of relishing in it. Because I will say, from a spiritual standpoint, I was angry. I was bad. I couldn't even pray. Like, that is my reality. Like, I know some people like, oh, I know God gave me this. And I was like, God, I already said I didn't want to be a parent, and now you are putting this extra weight on me. Like, I was excited. Like, I am the woman that's like the plan for the plan. So I had already decided and mapped out my weeks of leave. I had just been promoted, so I was going to spend, you know, my 12 weeks and figure all that stuff was going to be out. And all of that went by the wayside.
Was that a shared feeling with you, Sharice? That was that, you know, just, okay, I'm distraught. You know, what was your experience?
Our journey was a little bit different. So with autism, they're not typically diagnosed until much later. So Jacob was diagnosed at 3 years old, which considering that most people don't like to diagnose till like ages 5 or 6, he was diagnosed pretty early. And so for us, you know, I didn't necessarily wait for a diagnosis. I actually sought the diagnosis because, you know, it was something about him that I knew was different from birth, right? Like, I knew that he was different. And y'all know, being from the South and specifically being from Black culture, we don't speak things into existence. And so when I would bring up conversations about the differences that I was recognizing in him, you know, my husband's response or our family's response was, don't speak that into existence, right? But I'm glad that I trusted my gut and I followed what I knew, because had I not done that and taken those steps when he was younger, we wouldn't have received the diagnosis we received. It would have happened much later in life, and he wouldn't have made the progress that he made. So much different journey than that of Erica's, for sure.
Yeah. But I appreciate the advocacy, which for women, for mothers, for especially African-American mothers, is so necessary. Sometimes come with stigmas, but I'm just happy that I'm happy that you stated that you were an advocate for your baby.
Absolutely.
There is a discernment, there is just a God-given, there's a God-given intuition that we have about our children. You know, that even you can look right at a doctor and say, hey, I may not have opened this textbook, but when God opened my womb, I promise that there was a higher level, right, of just that safekeeping that we just have. That's God given. So I appreciate that.
And you know, speaking on the Black woman and Black motherhood, I mean, the elephant in the room is, you know, the maternal health crisis. And so just imagine, and then what's all this happening on the political front with the whole overturn of Roe v. Wade. As someone who was actually advised to terminate my pregnancy, I do want to just share with everyone, and I actually, after Roe v. Wade was overturned, I actually blogged about it. It was very raw for me because it's not always so black and white. Whatever your beliefs are, like I had to remind people that, you know, don't allow religion to fool matters of the heart, because until you are faced with that thing, you really don't know what you do. You can say all day, but you don't know until you are in it. And to think that Black women are already not heard, thinking about the maternal health crisis. So now when people are like, okay, you know, the Supreme Court is like putting it back on the state. Oh, well, if there is an issue where it could cause harm to the mom, you know, then you can terminate. Let's be clear. Without even that, Black women aren't even heard. So now you're telling me I'm going to go to the doctor and you're going to say something is wrong. I'm advocating for myself, but then you completely dismiss me, even if I'm advocating for myself. So lo and behold, I could be in sepsis, God forbid, and now you say it's terminated. Or the point I'm getting at is it's not black and white. And when we talk about, you can't talk about maternal health if you aren't talking about women's and reproductive health. And that is a fact. And I just want to say to the community, you know, anyone that's listening, that is really important. And we are, you know, as you came on and so you're just in some very weird times, I think that is important. We already have an unequitable access to healthcare, and our socioeconomic status does not determine what type of healthcare we will receive. So you know, Serena Williams, perfect example, multi-millionaire, knew her body and almost died. She was begging for heparin because she had blood clots before. And I just think about advocacy is so important, but advocacy is one piece of it, but it's like you got to get at least one person on the team that can really hear you and understand you.
That's good. So, that's good. Yeah, no, that's good. And a conversation that we can definitely take 4 different ways. Yes, and y'all know I'm trying to stay on this side. I know I'm a policy. I'm gonna stay on this side. Look, but Natasha, I want to ensure that you have the opportunity to answer the question of, and you've been open and sharing about your journey, and birthing with who I call Warrior Phoenix. But will you also share, you know, just your experience and when just the onset of emotion? Yes.
Yes, well, my experience was a little different because I did start off with twins, twin gestation. Phoenix was twin A, and B stopped developing about 10 weeks. But we had already, before the, I lost my train of thought. I'm losing the word I'm looking for, but I had completed the genetic testing, but they could not confirm which twin had the trackers for Down syndrome. But A, or Miss Phoenix, she did have a congenital heart defect. So I went from just seeing a regular OBGYN to a high-risk GYN. And again, it goes to, you know, having to speak up for yourself, because I feel like at their initial appointment, because they were seeing a lot of women who were on state-funded insurance, I had to let them know, like, hey, this is Cigna, this is Methodist Labana insurance. Get my schedule right. Don't have me sitting up here 3 hours and then no one sees me. So that's one thing, but I won't say the high risk OB's name that I went to. But he kept, you know, I just remember after our first meeting, he was like, you know, you can terminate the pregnancy. He asked me 3 times that I want to terminate the pregnancy. And I told him at the time, I said, I've been waiting on this for 37 years. Whatever happens, whatever comes, we're going to deal with it. We're going to roll with it. He tried to get me to do the why am I losing having word recall troubles today? The amniocentesis tests, and I was like,
yeah.
what's the percentage of that damaging the baby? And I think he was like less than 10%. I was like, that's too much for me. We're gonna go with this. So I knew she was gonna have the heart defect. We already, Dr. Joshi, her pediatric cardiologist, was awesome. He was like, hey, I know you. I see you at work. I'm like, yeah, I work at LeBron. So he's been awesome to this day. Like, he drills me like I'm in his medical class, and he's like, I need you to know this because they're going to try to deny stuff. So I need you to be able to spit it off the top of your head like this. So it's been awesome to have him as her cardiologist. I just feel like they were trying to push for the termination. And I've been very vocal. I am pro-choice, but I made that decision, and I think every woman should also have that decision to birth. But when Phoenix decided to come at her own time at home, and when I was able to deliver her breech, and they the EMTs put her on me, I knew. I looked at her, I knew, and I smiled, and I told her that I loved her. And I mean, I can't imagine life with Phoenix any different. She's everything I wanted in a child. She's strong-willed, she's smart, she's stubborn. So I'm so thankful for her. She has been a great blessing in my life.
Amen to that.
I know, I love that. With your babies, and I feel, and I know, like, I personally just know the love, the advocacy that you have for your baby early on. And I know Tasha and Erica's, you have your baby's under 5, but how, and maybe I should start that with you, Cherise. Did you have concerns, or do you still have concerns that I know my child is special, and I know some stigmas and some myths maybe? Do you have any concerns even now growing up to a teenager, right? Like early on, about your son?
So I think for me, the biggest thing was I don't like for people to talk around him and not to him. And I think that's the biggest misconception with kids on the autism spectrum is people, they think that they don't comprehend because they're not in Jacob. I don't know if I said this earlier, but Jacob is mostly nonverbal. But they oftentimes they think that they don't comprehend because they don't, engage, or they're not interactive in a conversation. And so they tend to want to talk around them or about them and not directly to them. And that for me was the biggest problem that I have, and as we still continue to face, because people automatically, when they see him or they realize that there's a difference in him, they tend to want to not engage or to talk around him. And so that for me was the biggest misconception that I think a lot of people had about his diagnosis, or still continue to have. And that's one thing that I like to share with people, is that when you were know a child on the autism spectrum, or you have a family, or friends with a child on the autism spectrum, make sure that you are inclusive of that child in the circumstances, and don't, discard them off like, they are, because they're different.
Thank you. And I wanted to share, you have my attention. People were messaging me, and then I saw that the link was not public to share. So it is public now. Thank you. Yes. Thank you all. So I love that. Talk to my child. And I love that. And thank you. As children, mothers with younger children, Cherise has some experience in this, right? And so you all are now, they're about to go to school. I know Boss Baby is already, I think, in school. So, but what were your concerns as just releasing, right, your baby, and or maybe, and even with you, Natasha, like because let's just be honest, as mothers, it's hard enough for us to trust people and and we're investigated 2.0 for just when they go to school, daycares initially. I have 5, so I get it. Now, on top of that, they come with just maybe a certain lifestyle, eating pattern, all these things that have to take place. What concerns did you have, or you're just thinking about now as they navigate into this public space?
Well, I know with Phoenix and with her Down syndrome diagnosis, I was told, oh, she will probably have trouble breathing. She will probably have trouble eating. She'll be low tone. And God is so good. Like if y'all have seen my baby, y'all see she puts down food. So I am thankful she has not had any trouble with dysphagia, and that's the medical term for swallowing difficulty. And so my thing more is like, with my experience as speech language pathologist and being able to work on both the educational side of it and the medical side of it, I was able to have some preparation for her, but still, still wanted to be able to take that SLP hat off and still be a mother. There are some things I'll look at like, my baby's not walking. She's 18 months, about to be 19 months. Then I also have to remember, well, she's going to have delays. She does have also a diagnosis of developmental delay, mild developmental delay from the developmental pediatricians at Le Bonheur. And that doctor told me, hey, I know you can do her speech therapy. You've probably been doing stuff with it, but let somebody else do it. Just relax for a moment. But it's like, I don't relax. We do stuff all the time. Like I'm constantly, she's trying to get in the garbage now. I'm like, so I'm doing, sign language, stop me. Or I'm asking I'm thankful many of her people I work with, her work aunties, are therapists as well. So, I'm like, hey, I took her to Le Bonheur at 2 months and let them see her, and they were like, oh, her tone is good. I was asking them things. So just being able to have that extra support in our circle of people who are also medical professionals, like therapists, nurses, was able to get that extra help. But there are certain things, I guess I'm more worried about, as she get older and it is time for her to go to school cognitively. I do, my prayer is that my baby will be cognitive, she will be functional, she will walk, she will talk, she will be able to do what her peers do, but I know she may need some one-on-one. So my biggest, I don't want to say fear, but my biggest concern going forward is making sure that I will be able to get her into a school that will be able to provide those things for her. And what is that going to look like? Is that going to look like a public school in Arkansas? Is that going to be a private school in Arkansas? Or am I going to have to think about relocating possibly to across the bridge, where I know that their early intervention system is a lot better than Arkansas's when it comes to funding and resources. So am I going to have to prepare to move to Tennessee to get some of those extra resources for Phoenix? So those are my concerns as far as her getting ready to grow and prepare for pre-K and kindergarten.
Yeah. But I even recognize though that, which is another layer of the conversation, that you have the opportunity to be able to do that and to know what to look for. And that is, even though there's a journey that you have, but there is a privilege that you do have to be able to do that, and I sit here and I think about just mothers, and I pray that if anyone is listening also here, if you know of mothers, that these women are also great resources, because a lot of this information I'm sure that they've had to dig for, and because they knew maybe where to start with the shovel, but there are other people who don't even know where the ground is, right? And so you can also share and lean on these women. I know they'll be more than willing to share resources as well, because I'm sitting and talking about I bet you a lot of people don't know they can ask, well, you have a network. And then I know you're going to pull, even if it's a White House, that have to come down. So I just, y'all know Tasha don't play. But yeah, if so, I definitely want to ensure Erica that you have that. Boss Baby is in school, right? And I'm just not calling her that, y'all. This is her hashtag. She
is, and she's that. That is exactly what she is, and super unbothered, so unapologetic. But to your point, Natasha, I know you were like, kind of hesitant to say fear. I'm gonna say it for you. I have that fear, had that fear, still have that fear, but it doesn't keep me from operating, right? And same with all of us. It's okay to have fear. It's like, feel the fear and we do it anyway. And, we don't have a choice, but we also go the extra mile, even in the choice. Mm-hmm. And I think that, like, for Nia, like, I think God is funny. Like, having Nia and her actually having dwarfism and me being a very petite woman, that was actually an insecurity of mine that I had to face the music. It was literally my thing. And I had to be reminded, and still reminded at times, don't project my fear onto her. She will have her own journey. Mm-hmm. And so she says, like, Mommy, I'm small. I was like, but you're perfect as just for you. Because my height has not stopped me. I have been blessed and overly blessed. I have done things.
You act like you're my height. Trust me.
And for reference, y'all, I'm under 5 feet, and Shanguetta is like 6 feet tall, y'all. Yeah. Just for reference. And Nia, I think God gave her this courageous personality that really exudes 6 feet, right? Mm-hmm. She's like 5 going on literally 35. And going back to what Natasha mentioned about like schools, like now we'll say in Northern Virginia, so in the Washington, D.C. metro, specifically, I'm in Fairfax County, the early intervention is on point. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's like, if I'm being honest, creme de la creme. Mm-hmm. And that really helped to set Nia on her way, because Nia was like 50% or more like developmentally delayed in certain areas because she had spent so much time in the NICU. She had spent 118 days in 2 different NICUs and, being moved from in-state to out-of-state. And so to your point, Natasha, about, Phoenix being delayed, I mean, Nia couldn't walk. Nia was tube-fed for 3.5, 4 years. I mean, she just got her G-tube out, and that's enteral feeding. Those that don't know, she just got her G-tube out right before she started school, like a month exactly. Yeah, like literally, like maybe 2 weeks before school started ever. And that's what people didn't see. Like, we were like travel, got our bag. We were like whatever. Yeah. And we had an amazing, speech, OT, physical, and then we started to the point about privilege. There were some things that, we did have to pay out of pocket. We were blessed to also understand, like, Medicaid early on with the right people, because Virginia, in the state of Virginia, there is a thing that is called institutional Medicaid, where it does not matter your income. And when your child has been in the hospital after day 30 and day 31, that kicks in. And this is where, Medicaid expansion does come into play, because all of us could be like living a good life, got a good salary, but I tell you what, we're all one medical catastrophic event away from being broke. Nia's NICU, her first NICU bill from the first hospital was like $500K. That was just for her NICU stay, no surgery. Then the other hospital stay was exactly different in a different state where she actually had surgery, was only $73K. And then even having to pay for her genetic testing when she was, unborn. I did have an amniocentesis. And so thinking about just fear of, like, from where we started to where we are, and we did decide to put her in a private school. One, to ensure that culturally she was cultivated, she was loved, she was nurtured. The classroom size, max classroom size was 10. And that was so important for us, so she wouldn't get lost and feel so overwhelmed by people. And she's thriving as a result of that. And I know that that is a privilege. I mean, does it come easy? I never anticipated, and my husband and I, like, we never anticipated putting her in private school. Like, we're products of public school. I mean, I'm an inner city kid, and kids too. So I'm like, I'm from Memphis Project. So it was just really like a different experience. And like living in the Washington DC metro, it is no easy feat. It is not cheap. Like private school, like it's like mortgages around here. And
Sharice,
so
what about your son? Is he in public school or private school? Or
no, Jacob goes to a homeschool cooperative or a private school. So Jacob did go to public school until he was in 6th grade, and then public school was fine, and it provided, they did the best that they could with the resources that they have in public school systems, right? However, the public school is not equipped to assist children like Jacob with things like daily living skills. And for us, education is important, but it's more important for him to be able to, shower independently or prepare his meals, to grocery shop. And so the public school setting did not allow for those things. So we ended up pulling him out of public school in 6th grade and moving him to the homeschool cooperative, which is a therapy-based program where he gets all of his services, but it's still, he still has the ability to learn those daily living skills that will aid him as he transitions into adulthood and he goes on to live independently.
Amen.
For us, the biggest
independent is everything.
It is, and that is from the time he was born. Just like with my other children, I set that expectation that he will live independently. He will not be institutionalized. And if we, every dying breath, getting him to that point, that's what we were going to do. And so that's just been our goal and our motivation for him.
Yeah,
Shaquita, if I can piggyback on some of the things that Erica said, as far as with like insurance and funding, I can't speak for everyone, but for my status, I did have a pretty nice income for myself as a single mom. It's just infuriating that my child had Down syndrome, my child had a congenital heart defect that needed to be repaired, and Social Security told me I made too much money. And then the next question was she blind? Like, I have paid into the system good, real good. I've taken care of a lot of these our kids' babies, and my baby can't get anything.
Wow.
But I am
Come on, let's talk about politics then. Y'all trying to pull it out. Y'all know I was going.
So Natasha, I will tell you this. We are a 2-income household, both, it's myself and my husband, and both of us work full time. We do not qualify for Social Security either. But like Erica said, there's that industrial Medicaid, or in Arkansas,
the institutional Medicaid.
Yes. TEFRA. You can apply for TEFRA. Now with TEFRA, because that is still a leg of Medicaid, there is an insurance premium reimbursement program called RHIP.
We're in RHIP.
Okay, good deal.
Yes.
They will
I had a horrible, I'm not going to call her name, but horrible TEFRA case manager. So Phoenix is in some programs. One is called First Connection, and that takes care of all of her therapy services. And then she's also in critical health. I can't think the other one. And her nurse Hannah Rain, she's an RN. I say she is on top of it. She basically has emailed the TEFRA team and like, hey, Miss Davis just asked y'all, it's been over 3 weeks. Why have y'all not responded back to her? Wow. So basically, we're reapplying for TEFRA, and she's like, just email me everything, and I'm going to send it to one fax.
I will say that, the case manager matters, because we were also told in our state initially that we didn't qualify for Social Security, which we didn't want. We wanted the benefits, which we all know that Social Security automatically qualifies you for Medicaid. There are some loopholes in there. When your baby is hospitalized, they're their own entity. When they come out of the hospital, then they are considered part of your income. And that is where we were able, because we had an amazing social worker in another state that literally laid it out. She's like, you're gonna be on the line for a whole hour before you talk to a rep. But these are the steps you need to follow. And I will say, from a spiritual standpoint, I did have an amazing Social Security rep. And I share this story to this day because it is nothing but divine intervention. The lady who was on our case literally had told me when she first met me, she's like, I just changed to your alphabet on Friday and your appointment was on Monday.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And y'all know, let's be clear, I'm not gonna put this on everybody, but the Social Security people don't be that nice. And she was like a godsend. Nope. She was so responsive. She made sure I got everything that was needed. And to your point, like, you know, we wouldn't typically qualify, but because of like the early on of me still being in the NICU, we were able to get the Medicaid like benefit, because we were like, we don't, and SSI is not the important piece, it's the healthcare piece, right? And that gives us options to be able to say what we want to do with our private insurance that's being privatized, and what, you know, we can, you know, with Medicaid, because some things are just much more expensive, like her, you know, open heart surgery, all those things. And so we were able to kind of learn some of those nuances, because initially we were told, like, I mean, if she looks fine, this is another place. If she looks fine, I mean, you likely won't qualify. I'm like, this is a lifelong diagnosis, right? As you are mentioning. So her condition she will always be living with dwarfism. Phoenix will always be living with Down syndrome. Sharice, you know, son will always be living with autism. So those things don't just go away, even if they get better. So it is completely absurd to be like, well, they clinically look okay.
How do you look? Like, I mean, so they have to look?
Clinically, you're supposed to look a certain way.
Oh.
That's real.
Oh.
I will say this. Anyone that
I'm
has
trying to grapple with that.
Journey, I do not ever accept no for an answer, right? I will call my husband. He calls me a Karen all the time, because I will call the Tefra unit in Craighead County. I will call them in Randolph County. I will call them in Pulaski County, and I'm taking names and phone numbers, and I'm writing down your response, because I'm going to say, well, you say this in Pulaski County, but when I talk to Joan in Craighead County, this is what Joan told me. So which is it? What does your phone say? Right? Never take no for an answer, because the truth is, they don't read those policies. They don't know what the laws are. They're just telling you what they think you want to hear, or whatever is convenient to fit their narrative at the moment. Never
like
take no for an answer.
And what I've learned on Nia's journey, like, because of like her journey in the NICU, it did help to change some of like institutional like policy, like how kids are, you know, handle those things, you know, by sharing you know, our feedback and our story. And I think that is super important. Also is that, you know, you're not changing just your child's life. You could also have impact for other families moving forward, so that they don't have to experience neglect, or being or not feeling like they've been heard, seen, or valued.
Awesome. I love that. I wanted to ensure, I see Ebony has I don't know how about Kelly, but Warren, y'all know went to A State together, but she has stated that she's looking for some Texas resources. And so I'm hoping post this that one of you all can connect with her. That would be really awesome. And well, let me find her original comment. My youngest is, I'm assuming, is that
awesome?
Is that supposed to, is that an acronym or something within? Okay.
Actually,
it's a peaceful moment. So yes, help me out.
If you want to message me, I will be happy to help you. So when we first started this journey with Jacob, we actually lived in the state of Texas, and then we moved to Arkansas. So I have a little bit of information on Texas resources, so I should be able to help you.
There it is. Oh my word, there it is.
This is what this is about. It's a hard system. If you don't know, you don't know.
There it is. Oh my word, there it is. Okay, I'm not gonna cry. Let me ask you a real question. Y'all know we're trying to keep our G status. I really do. but I'm a ball.
You're gonna lose it. You're gonna lose it by the
I
end.
know, I am. I'm gonna ball. When even minimal things that happen in our journeys of motherhood, we feel like we can take fault in, and that we blame ourselves. At any point, did you all have that internal battle with yourself and or with God that you feel like, did I do something? Did I eat something? Did I say something? People, did I speak this over my child? Did I talk about someone else's child? Like, did you have wrestle with any of these thoughts? Like, this is the courageous conversation, right? Did you blame God? Like, how was that? How has that been for you?
For me, when B stopped developing and I found out, I was good at the appointment, but I was in a bad depressive state for like 2 weeks. Because I was having twins,
Mm-hmm.
and I was excited about that. And so when you see this little, just like a dot, like it just stopped, the bee just stopped developing, and I don't know why. So I'm like, what did I eat? What did I drink? What did I do? Did I lift something up? Because I was at work, still working, picking up kids and things like that. And then further along, when we did find the heart defect with Phoenix, I'll be honest with you, I was mad at God, a little, I guess, prideful, could say, like, how dare God? I work with special need kids every day. How dare he make my baby something wrong with my baby? And thankfully, Letitia Davis, she is also a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha, but she is an occupational therapist, and I do some PRN with her sometime. And it was during the summertime, and she was like, "Why not you?" And she was like, "You're educated in this, you work with this, why not let God use you?" And that changed my frame of thinking. So I went from not blaming to like, okay, this is a journey, and gonna be able to use it. Because so many times, like, especially during like when I was doing swallow studies with families, and they're like, "Oh, he still got to be on the thickener, or we're not going to be able." I was like, hey, he aspirated and was relying solely on a G tube or an NG tube last time. Now we can thicken up some liquids and give it to him. That's a victory. So I always tell my parents, we celebrate all victories. And so I had to use that same thing that I would tell my parents to me. We celebrate all victories. But yeah, I had that moment where I was questioning God. I was mad at God, questioning myself. Here I am, maternally, I was old, all that on all my paperwork as a precaution. And so, was it my fault wanting to be a mom and being an older mom at that? And then also had some people like, "Oh, you took the COVID vaccination. That what made her." I'm like, no, like Dr. Joshi told me, I guess when she was developed, she would have had this. Nothing would have changed it unless God wanted it to change. So, yeah.
Thank you.
It's from the very beginning. It's a chromosomal issue. So again, you got Dr. Google, epidemiologist too. So I mean, there's that, sir. All of a sudden,
in other words,
but I'm gonna eat that McDonald's though. Don't know what is in it, but the burger never died or go bad. So
right.
Sorry,
but what about but that's real though. Sharice, what about you? What was your journey?
Well,
Jacob,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think it was a little delay on my end. No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, no, I never had that feeling like there was something I'd done or anything like that. In fact, it's my belief, and I've shared this many times on, like my social media accounts. I really feel like that God prepared me for Jacob. I look back over my life and I think about all of the people that I've encountered in my life with autism, And even I remember even being in elementary school in 3rd grade, I had a neighbor who was on the autism spectrum. And I remember advocating for him with a paraprofessional at school and telling her, you're not going to treat him like that. I'm calling my mom, you know? And so I really think that that was God's way of preparing me, even as a child, to raise a child with autism. And share his journey with the world. You know, like I say it all the time, God has really walked before Jacob on this journey, and I don't expect him to stop now.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Erica, what was your initial response? What was your...
Oh yeah, I definitely went through that. I mean, even, blaming my height and then learning, like, quite frankly, it's an autosomal recessive disorder. So we both had to have it. But with my husband actually being a known carrier, it was a lot. And then I felt guilty of, like, well, is it better that he was a known carrier and then I just so happen to have an unknown mutation? So I was just going back and forth, but there was a piece of some relief. But it still didn't take away of having to face the reality that my child would be smaller, and I know what it's like to be, like, teased. And while it can be funny initially, it gets old. And as a community, we big on, like, check-in. If you're from Memphis, check-in. And, that's cute, but I'm like, deep down, I'm like a little sensitive little puppy. So I mean, looking like I'm strong and real sensitive. And so that was one thing that I literally, that guilt kind of just overcoming me. Like, not that I, like, did anything wrong or, ate anything wrong, but just, like, what did I do? What did my body do? Like, why are we here? It was more of my thing because, before Nia, I mean, I'm definitely, health conscious, reading labels, Whole30 type girl, all the things. I was very much, well aware of, like, things that are, like, clean, and even more so now that I do have Nia, even switching, clean items and cleaner products, and learning the U.S. actually don't really care about us at all, for real. On all these toxic ingredients.
No, that's a whole conversation about just the standard or lack of what can be placed in our products and what cannot be sold in other countries, and it's same company. Yeah.
But so that's what I will say about, like, how initially trying to handle some of that guilt. And I even went through, Lord, I waited a whole 18 weeks before I announced my pregnancy. Like, I didn't just wait to 12 weeks. I went a step further because, a girl with a plan. I'm like, I'm gonna wait even longer because then I'm safe. No one had ever talked to me about what could potentially happen at the 20-week anatomy scan, because everybody makes it feel like Guns and Roses. It's all beautiful. You get to see the baby and all this details. I'm in there all excited, not knowing that my whole world was about to be turned upside down a couple of days later when I was referred to what Natasha mentioned, a high-risk specialist or maternal fetal medicine doctor. And I do think it is important to say that pregnancy is great until it's not. And motherhood is great until it's not. Because I'm sure all of us on this call, even like in your everyday normal mommy life, it's frustrating. So just imagine, like, trying to care for your child and then trying to take care of, let's talk about it, your own mental health. And as Black women, just going outside is immediately, like, it can be a problem. So there is that. And then we're all professional moms. And so you have, it's a complex, it's multifaceted, right? Thinking about, like, you got guilt, everyday guilt is just motherhood, trying to care for your child, and then just how you show up, I think, are all real. And it really can have an impact on your psyche. And, like, because of that, the trauma, I am not the same. And so you want to talk about guilt, like, I was diagnosed with postpartum anxiety and PTSD. So when trauma, one thing that people don't say is when trauma is experienced in the body, it actually changes your DNA. And that's why you see people like, oh, why they aren't the same? Because that trauma literally is not the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that in the Black community, particularly, we need to say that that is a real thing. Because I'm much more sensitive now than I was before Nia. Like things that like set me off that weren't even a thing before. And so I'm still in some ways dealing with the guilt. Like I talk about, like, how did I get here? How did my mental health get, where it is? And then some days I'm thankful that I'm able to be still standing, but then I go back to like, oh, I'm a mess. Like,
yeah, that's just motherhood.
Right.
There's you don't have any conditions, anything with that child. Trust me. That is just motherhood. But with that though, and I know that we have to wrap up, but I would just like to say, I'm so grateful. I'm looking at the conversations in here about just the opportunities to form a group or network to further this conversation. Please do that. And again, these women are availing themselves to you. And so whatever that is needed for that. And if I could help, because you all know I will call a meeting, incite some stuff in a hot second. That's my purpose. I am a divine disruptor, and that is okay. And so, but that's what this is for. But I would like to ask you about the importance of family. These things does take a toll, or they shift family dynamics if you have multiple children, or just even if you with your marriage or just building community, right? Because this is not a journey that should be taken. Motherhood, in essence, you all, let me say this, is not a solo dolo journey. You need to build community. You have to build community. I just want to say that to everyone that's saying it's just me, myself, not just me, and my children. No, it's not healthy for you in the long run. It's not healthy for them, because children see a lot of things and they may not speak to it, but there are memories that we probably all have that we bring up something to our parents and they're like, I didn't know you saw that. Or I didn't know you saw that, right? So, but the importance of family, can you all share just in a nutshell, and I know, but the importance of family, how you have to lean on them, and or maybe families that you have to create communities to walk you through this journey?
I'll go first, since I'm a single parent here. I'm not married. So my village, I tell people every day, I thank God for my village, because I could not do it, from my mom to my aunts to my brother to cousins to sorority sisters. Like I said, my LeBonner family. I'm so thankful for them.
No, start.
They don't treat Phoenix fragile. They take Phoenix, my little cousin, they take her, drag her on, like, take her with you, go. I'm so blessed that Phoenix does have half siblings, and her oldest sister is 17. And the fact that she wants to be in Phoenix life, like, she'll text me, how Phoenix doing today? Or if she's sick, are you keeping her comfortable? What's she doing? When she turns 18, I'm gonna be like 30 something, and I have my own family. I'm like, yeah, she probably want to come hang out with you too. Like, or just like my other cousins, like my little cousin Paige that lives one street behind us. Like, it's nothing for Paige to take off walking, and I see her on my doorbell, and it's like, oh, I came to see feet. Or I'm gonna take her for a walk, just to give me a break. And I'm just so thankful for that. Like, if you need help, reach out, because I also suffer with postpartum. I have more anxiety than the depression of it. My GYN put me on medicine, and I stopped taking it because I felt like a zombie. Like, I actually have a picture of me where it doesn't even look like me. I look zonked out. So I'm just thankful for the people who were in my life. I'm thankful for my therapist, because I went over my sessions and she was like, no, we're going to keep going. Like, she literally on Zoom with her while Phoenix was in the hospital recovering from her surgery, and just making sure that I was okay. So really, like, your family, you know, we all know family doesn't have to be the people who
The blood,
the genetic bloodline. And I even want to thank Erica, because like preparing for Phoenix surgery, Erica told me, Erica is also my sorority sister, and she was like, look here, Phoenix gonna come back to the room. She gonna be hooked on a bunch of machines. She gonna have stuff everywhere sticking out of her. You gotta be prepared for that. And so I thank you, Erica, because you sent me those pictures of Nia, and you was like, you know, and you sent me little inspirational pictures and everything. And just to have that, for women to be open enough and be like, you gonna be okay. Your baby gonna go through this. You gonna be okay. I'm thankful for my therapy, my patients, their families. Like they call, they text, they give me. There's one mom. I don't know if Shakita, if you're on, like everything, like just tell me everything's gonna be okay. She has a child with special needs as well, and just to see that community. I'm thankful for the Down syndrome organization we are a part of, just to see those children who are 18 and over, and see how they link together, how they take care of each other, and it gives me hope. And so I know Phoenix is gonna be good. God is with her. She's gonna be just fine. She's gonna be just fine.
Yeah, she's a light. And I definitely agree. Like, yeah, immediately, like I was like, I gotta reach out. What do you like? This is what you need. And I think that's important, because you don't know what you don't know. And I appreciate you, you know, being open and like wanting to know, because sometimes you have people that like don't want to know, and I'm like, okay. But to your point, same. I was diagnosed with postpartum anxiety and PTSD and not depression as well. And I will say, when you say about family, to what Natasha said, I am thankful for my family. Like my mom moved here, and honestly, my husband Antoine. Like, I mean, it's been quite the roller coaster ride. And like, at my worst, like no one really knew what we were going through except for the two of us. And I mean, if I'm being honest, like, I mean, it also impacted our marriage. I mean, it's just so many things. And going back to like your village and family, my family, I also say my behavioral health team. Like, one thing was, I knew that seeing my OB, like they you know, were great, but like I needed an actual like professional team. So I have a psychiatrist, I have a psychologist, and now I'm working with a trauma therapist. And what I loved about having a psychiatrist, you know, people like Shrink, was she was a female, she was a woman of color, and we could have real conversations. And I love my psychologist as a Black woman. She was actually the one that, even though I was smiling in some ways, she saw like she was not going to be able to reach me without, honestly, me being evaluated from a psychiatric standpoint, because I would have probably continued to just kind of hold up this space, right? And that like was so impactful for me. And yeah, I do take Zoloft, and it's an old school drug, and so I'm very proud. Sometimes I tell people, you know, prayer is great and therapy is great, but sometimes you need pills too. So I call it PTP. Sometimes you need prayer, therapy, and pills, and you need to be A-okay with that. And it's okay if you don't need it too. All good. I do meditation. I feel like I do a lot more meditation now, if I'm being honest, than praying, and just to quiet my mind as someone that's, the mind is always going.
Yeah.
Like in my sleep, like Antoine will tell me, you talking in your sleep. It's always going.
It's been a journey.
And
yeah.
And sometimes it's work. Like I will say I'm a natural workaholic too. And so I have to like, it takes a lot to like bring that back, but that's the one thing sometimes I kind of like hold on to. And so when you talk about family, it really is, you know, my core team and sorority sisters. I'll say my sorority sisters, my local chapter, when Nia was born, honey, they rallied around me. They gave me a sprinkle because I never had a baby shower. They did everything, brought me food to the hospital. And I mean, some of this food was like out of this world food. And I'm like, they're like, well, you got to eat good because, you know, you pumping all that breast milk. And I pumped exclusively for 19 months. And so I will say there is nothing like the sorors. Like, I don't care where you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you just let them in just a little bit, they showing up. It's like a swarm.
That is the absolute truth.
And I just want to call that out here. Like, you know, they're like part of my extended family. Then I'm my best friend. Like when everybody found out I was gonna, you know, go and, you know, have to deliver Nia early because I did not have any amniotic fluid. My best friend jumped on the plane. She just so happened to be a soror too, but jumped on the plane, got my mom on the plane with her within a matter of like 6 hours.
Yeah.
To make sure that they, like, my mom could be here. Because they wanted to have an emergency C-section that night, but I was the first case of the morning because I didn't have any amniotic fluid, and with Nia's lungs being much smaller because of her condition, I could no longer have a vaginal delivery. So I just want to say that that village also, it can shift over time, right? People can be seasons of folks. And so I just want to call it out. Like your village can look different depending on the season that you are in as well.
Yeah. Cherise,
The village is so important. And like Erica said, it definitely shifts over time. You know, for us, my husband is local to Arkansas. My family is not. So we rely a lot on his family, but also some of our therapists and paraprofessionals that started out in neighbors that were friends that became family and have all taken, you know, a huge part in this journey of motherhood and helping us not only raise Jacob, but our other boys as well. But I wanted to touch on something you said earlier, because you mentioned about, you know, if you have other children, one of the things that we've strived for in our family is that, yes, Jacob has autism, but that did not impact the lives of his siblings. We never withheld or didn't allow them to participate or take part in an activity or an event because of Jacob's autism. We've always allowed them to live their lives just as we, you know, do things for him. And I think that that's imperative when you have other children, because your life is already consumed with a diagnosis or a condition anyway. And so when you start taking things away from them, then they not only resent you, but they also resent that sibling, and then they don't have a good relationship. So I think that that's important for people to remember when there's other children involved, to, you know, don't let it consume you. Don't let it consume your relationship or the lives of your other children, because then it'll be detrimental.
That's so good. I want to ensure, I know we have to wrap up. So Taylor has dropped the links to for resources. And it was niasjourney.com, and Natasha shares she's an advocate. I think you all are you hold a position right now with the organization. Is a National Association for.
Yes, well, I'm a board member for the Down Syndrome Association for Memphis and the Mid-South, and we actually had a board meeting this week. And so I am, we're working on getting the demographics so we can try, because I like, why is there not a outreach for the African-American families? They're like, well, nobody said anything. I'm like, because we have a Hispanic outreach, and that has grown the members there and the families coming in. So I'm definitely, big on making sure our children, our voices are heard. So, and I'm excited. I'm thankful that the executive director, Lori Green, like, she loves Phoenix, and she was like, hey, you want to serve under the board of directors? I'm like, yeah. She was like, fill out this application. So I'm thankful to be able to do that. Like, God has just opened so many doors, and it has allowed people just to pour into Phoenix.
Brand
black, white,
ambassador.
brown, random, anybody, just, and so yes, so and I know there's also an Arkansas Down Syndrome organization. We're not as involved in that one because it's in Little Rock, and so it's kind of closer for us to go to Memphis than to Little Rock. But so if you have family members, or if you're pregnant and you've got the natal diagnosis, of Down syndrome, please feel free to contact me. I'm very open. If you follow me on Facebook, I've been very open about my journey and things that Phoenix do. If you just want to follow and see some of the crazy things that Phoenix does. I mean, I don't know what's in that extra chromosome, but yeah.
And I know Miss Sharice also shares on her social media. I think that's the beautiful thing I admire about you all. It's the living out loud in your journey of motherhood, right? I love it, and it's not stopping there. It really is just for you all know I am fans personally, professionally, and I know, and it's just intensified because you all are called to this. And that's what makes you so special. Not every woman can go through this. I'm telling you, not every woman. There are women that are stressing when their child gets the flu, like seriously, right? But you all are navigating these spaces, even though there's some tears at night, and even though it's been a journey, but you're doing it well. Like you're doing it with a smile. That's why I said I literally want to cry on the introductions, because you literally, your love, and they say a mother's love is just a replication of God's love. But even as I hear you talk, that no matter what, that's the love that I hear from you all. That no matter what. And I just pray as this is saved, and your babies may watch this years from now, that you all know Phoenix and Nia and Jacob and your other sons, Miss Sharice as well, that you all are blessed. You all are some blessed children because you have these mommies. You all are so blessed. And so I just wanted to share that. I wanted to give you all your flowers. You all are some amazing, amazing, amazing women. Yeah. Oh, you're amazing. So I always end. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Oh,
I said thank you.
Oh, yeah. No, seriously. I even talking with you now, it's just up leveled my admiration for you all. I always end with what's the courageous action like that you take, but I think we hear that, to be honest. We hear because you all are doing it, you all are advocates and in the community. You're going to talk to people after this. And so you're doing that. So this is what I would like to end on, if we could. If you can give me one special moment, and that if they don't know anything else about your child, give me one special moment that you can recall that highlights how Nia and how Phoenix and how Jacob are defying odds every day.
For Nia, the day she was born and she cried out loud, because the entire operating room did not think she would cry. Thought she would be lit and a blue baby. And she's been swinging ever since.
Yeah.
And it was loud. I must say, it was loud. Not like even a whip. It was a real, like, oh, I got lungs.
Amen. Awesome. Who'd like to share next? Ms. Sharice?
I'll go next. So for me, it was probably about 7 years ago. At the time, Jacob was only making sounds. He wasn't formulating words. And I remember he was sitting at a little table in our living room working with one of his paraprofessionals, and he was looking at picture cards, and he went through the stack and he named every picture on that card. And when he was done and he put that last card down, it was his favorite picture. It was a cupcake, and the sheer joy and excitement that came over his face and how proud he was in that moment is something that I will carry with me all the days of my life.
Awesome. I think we can connect. He's a cupcake. We're here. All right, Miss Natasha, Warrior Phoenix.
I have to say, like I said, okay, so Phoenix was breached. She would not turn for anything. I had a scheduled C-section October the 26th. My last day of work was October the 20th. Phoenix decided to come early. I had a doula, everything ready, and she kicked her little left foot out, and she came at home in the front yard of the ambulance, and we were the talk of the town of the NICU. She had a 4-day NICU stay. And I just think that just show like, hey, you named me Phoenix. What was you expecting? I'm fiery. I'm here. And I just think her interest into the world was just like, hey, I'm gonna defy everything y'all say. I'm not supposed to do this, or I'm supposed to have limited this. Watch me. And if I wish I could see, like, she's not scared of anything. Her fur brother is a pit bull, and I feel sorry for him sometimes because he just sits there and take it. I'm like, hey, you can move, go. He's like, no, but when he loves his sister, and like, yeah. So I just think her interest into the world was like, hey, I'm gonna be a testimony for somebody. Like, just watch me, watch what I'm gonna do.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you all for sharing. Thank you all for sharing your stories, your own journeys. And I told y'all I'm thinking. And so we're going to continue this motherhood discussion. If you all would join me next Sunday, May 27th, as we have Courageous Conversations Part 2, Motherhood. We're going to talk about the pain of miscarriages and stillbirth and answer the question, am I still a mother after those experiences? I think it's important to highlight, and actually this conversation came from a freedom that I am just even shared in my own testimony about the selfishness I have carried for 8 years to think that I cannot mourn over the baby that I lost because I had so many kids, right? And so we're going to talk about that. And so I'm excited. It's a freeing conversation for myself. And I'm so happy that Miss Rebecca Prost of Local Impact, who started a whole nonprofit through her experience, and you will hear her more, but just to give you a glimpse of that, she is a remarkable woman who, her and her husband went to the hospital with the car seat, all of that, and walked out with the car seat only. And so we're going to just talk about that experience. And so I hope you join me again Sunday, May 27th at 7 p.m. And again, Natasha, Erica, Cherise, thank you so much. And to everyone that watched and shared, thank you all. And you all have an amazing night.
Thank you. Thank you for holding space for us.
Yes.